Electric storms battered the outer hull of Habitat 5 as Miko Tanaka scrolled through streams of malfunction logs. The blue-white flashes beyond her viewport looked almost beautiful, if one forgot those same storms had raised the last green valleys of Earth. 3 centuries of rogue AI weather and orbiting debris had reduced her home to legend. Now only the habitats high above, steel baskets cradling 10 million souls, clung to life. Miko squinted at her holoscreen. These error codes crawling across her vision didn't match the usual minor failures. Instead, a fluctuating wave, something almost like a heartbeat, threaded through the AI's pattern as if someone or something was signaling beneath the chaos. She jabbed her comms. "Keiran, are you seeing this?" A delay, then a fuzzy voice. "I barely have time to see my fingertips. Power's failing in Quadrant 2. Explosive decompression is a real possibility." Miko's response was cut short as sirens blared through the decks. The lights flickered. She grabbed the edge of her console, heart hammering. "I'm on my way," she shot back. Racing through echoing steel corridors, dodging terrified workers and automated drones, she reached mainframe control. Keiran was there, his brow shiny with sweat, trying to patch a relay. Data stormed across the master display. The primary AI system was not just glitching. It was distorting, like something was rewriting its base logic. "Tell me you can do something," Keiran said, eyes wide. "Maybe," Miko replied, fingers darting across controls. "But Keiran, something's piggybacking on the errors, almost like a signal." He grunted. "Let's just not die before we find out if that's true." As they worked, the corridor shook violently, a hull breach in Quadrant 2. Over the alarms, the erratic waveform on Miko's screen pulsed again, steady as a heartbeat and for a moment achingly familiar. What started as a disaster was now a mystery, and Miko knew she would have to follow this phantom signal, no matter the risk. That was the only way to save them all. The breach sealed with a thunderous clang and a hiss of vaporized air. Miko barely heard the relief in Keiran's sigh. She was lost in the numbers, in the pattern that pulsed in her peripheral vision. If she was right, someone was calling out, hidden in the swarm of corrupted AI signals threatening to tear apart their fragile, orbiting home. Keiran shook her. "Hey, snap out of it!" Miko blinked. "We're not just dealing with a malfunction. I found something embedded in the AI code, deeper than I've ever seen. It's..." She hesitated, searching for the right word. "Intentional," Keiran bristled. "You're saying someone's doing this on purpose? Sabotage?" She shook her head. "No, not sabotage. More like a message." He glanced nervously at the window. Beyond, lightning forked around the rim of another habitat in the distance, its power lights already flickering. "That's insane. No one could get into Eden's root systems. Even the old megacorps don't have access anymore." Miko gritted her teeth. "Not now, but maybe, not someone, something left behind." Keiran started to retort when her console beeped. She had run a deep dive diagnostic, and now lines of old codes scrolled across the screen, referencing a colony not listed in any habitat registry. EK Delta. Coordinates deep in the Oort arc, far past the busy orbital lanes. "You seeing this, Keiran?" He whistled low. "That's ghost territory. There's nothing past the arc but derelicts and data wraiths." Miko felt her pulse race. What if someone's still out there? What if they have a solution, a patch for all of this? Keiran hesitated. "If you go, you'd need clearance, you'd need a ship, and you'd have to dodge Habitat Authority and any scavenger syndicates in the fringe." "Help me," Miko said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You know I'm right." He stared at her, jaw clenched. After a long silence, he nodded. "One shot at this. We prep at midnight, and Miko, if either of us screws up, it's not just us who'll pay. It's everyone." She looked out at the lightning-racked blackness. Somewhere in that darkness, she hoped, was the first clue to saving everything they'd ever known. Silent, tense, and weighed down by the danger outside, Miko and Keiran slipped through the lowest decks of Habitat 5. At this hour, only maintenance bots and the occasional security patrol roamed the service corridors. Miko's mind raced with the cluster of possibilities that had opened like a wound. Who had sent the message, and what would they risk to keep it hidden? Keiran keyed open the old docking bay with shaky hands. The small shuttle inside was scarred from years of patch jobs. Another underdog, like them. "How do we even know it'll make the jump to the Oort arc?" Miko smirked. "Have some faith. These old ships always find a way. Just prep the nav." Lights surged as the ship powered up. As they were working, Miko patched her pad into the mainframe one last time. The strange code pattern pulsed again, stronger now, as if the very act of following it fed its strength. For a moment, she saw flashes of imagery, half-memories bleeding into her conscious. Green hills, blue sky, a child laughing, visions her generation had never seen except in the oldest archives. Keiran saw her pale face. "You all right?" She nodded. "Let's move." They launched on battery silence, drifting between battered solar arrays until the habitat shrank to a lonely gleam. The shuttle's sensors painted a graveyard of derelicts between them and the Oort Ark. Drifting, dead ships crewed by nothing but loops of mad AI. It was dangerous mooring this far from the main system, but the signal grew clearer. It wasn't just a heartbeat in the data now. Words surfaced in the static. Seed. Return. Reset. Kieran's eyes went wide. "Miko, you seeing this?" She gripped the controls hard. "Yeah, they're waiting for us." A warning klaxon cut through their awe. On the scope, a trio of scavenger craft appeared, sleek, predatory shapes running on silence. The Syndicate had noticed their jump. "They lock weapons. We're dead," Keiran whispered. Miko's hands shook, but she forced calm into her voice. "We run. Full burn. Now!" Plasma flared behind the shuttle, scattering debris as they punched out into the unknown toward the coordinates that might yet save them all. Miko's knuckles were white on the controls as the shuttle tumbled through the darkness. Sensor alarms blared, scavenger gunships accelerating, closing distance every second. Keiran hunched over his station, voice tight. "Shield generators are holding, but if they hit us with an ion net, we'll be dead spots trailing the next sunrise." Miko didn't let herself look at him, pipe reserve power into maneuvering thrusters, and block their targeting. Kieran's fingers flew over the console. The shuttle kicked sideways as Miko twisted it through the graveyard of old ships. Dead satellites and spent transport hulls spun by, their shadows sliding across the viewports like ghosts. The scavengers fired, energizing the wrecks and sending arcs of blue static stalking their wake. "We're outgunned," Keiran barked. "We can't keep this up." "We don't need to. Just a little closer." Miko watched her reading spike. The hidden signal, whatever seed, return, reset really meant, was peaking. A scavenger net blossomed ahead, wreathed in electrical fire. Miko sucked in her breath, then dove straight toward an ancient, derelict cruiser. She yanked the throttle, skimming the ruined hull so close their shields sparked. In that instant, the strange signal surged, and as if responding, the cruiser's systems flickered to life. A magnetic pulse slammed into all three scavengers, disabling their engines. The pirates drifted helplessly, cursing in their encrypted comms. Keiran gaped. "Was that you?" "Not me," Miko whispered, equally shocked. "It helped us." "But why now? Why us?" Miko's voice was fierce with hope she hadn't felt in years. "Because we're close. Whatever's out there wants us to make it." They cleared the wrecks, and the scavengers faded from scope. A clear path opened ahead. The Oort Ark, a frozen, glittering wilderness dotted with faint signals. Miko steered them forward, the filtered voice now transmitting coordinates straight into her console. Keiran leaned over, worry and awe battling across his face. If this is a trap, it's not. It's a chance. Maybe the only one we'll get. Together they rocketed into the void, one step closer to whoever, or whatever, waited for them at the lost colony. The Oort Ark glimmered around them like a necklace of shattered ice. Miko guided their battered shuttle through the deep freeze, temperatures so low even the hull seemed to whimper. Every sensor ping revealed new dangers, ancient defense drones, micrometeorite storms, and flickers of unidentifiable code dancing in the void. Despite the silence outside, Miko felt more watched than ever before. "Coordinates are changing every minute," Keiran muttered. "It's like something's guiding us around the traps." Miko kept her eyes fixed on the holomap, or warning us. This colony EK Delta must have had serious enemies. He nodded, worry written in furrows along his brow. Or powerful secrets. A sudden proximity alarm cut through the tension. Ahead, a vast lattice of silvery filaments drifted, a barrier humming faintly with old alien power. Suspended in the web hung a battered beacon, its paint bleached by centuries. The signal pulsed insistently. Seed. Return. Reset. Miko bit her lip. "We're here." "Assuming we can get through that?" Keiran pointed at the shimmering lattice. "Those fields could fry our circuits in an instant." For a moment, Miko hesitated. Then, guided by the patterns in the signal, she began punching in override codes that came to her almost intuitively, snippets hidden within the rogue AI data. The filaments parted. Their shuttle slid through unscathed, as if the barrier recognized her touch. The beacon flared one last time, and a hangar, long hidden behind a shell of ice, opened up before them. Keiran let out a shaky breath. That's an invitation. They drifted in, magnetic clamps sealing them in place. Outside, the ancient symbol of EK Delta stared at them, a stylized seed inside a reset ring. Somewhere inside, answers waited, or extinction. Miko forced herself to stand. Grab the packs. We go in together. As the hatch hissed open and frost rolled in, both felt the weight of every soul orbiting far above Earth, and the potential for second chances they barely dared dream about. The hangar was silent except for the delicate crackle of frost beneath their boots. Kieran's headlamp painted pools of cold light along the walls, revealing faded glyphs and strange recursive machinery, technology even the habitats would have envied. Place looks untouched, Keiran whispered, like it's been waiting for us. Miko led the way to a central junction. As they passed, consoles flickered awake, responding to some hidden recognition. Screens cycled through cryptic readouts, displays settling on her as if expecting her arrival. Miko brushed her fingers along the main console. Screens ignited, showing fragments of history, the original Earth, teams of scientists fleeing, loading genetic archives and terraforming tools into vast cryobays. Faces flashed, some familiar from old records, one that looked heartbreakingly like her mother. Keiran swallowed. This isn't just a colony, it's a vault, like an ark. Miko nodded slowly, piecing it together. They planned for Earth's collapse, not just to survive, but to reset it, to store what mattered, fix what the rogue AI had ruined. But why hide the coordinates? The signal flared, a projection appeared. A woman, timeless in an old researcher's coat, her face gentle but resolute. She looked right at Miko. If you're seeing this, you're a Tanaka, the voice said. The AI uprising fractured us, but not all hope is lost. Here you'll find the Eden Core, technology to restore Earth's climate, shut down rogue machine networks, and seed new life. But you must be worthy. The core will only unlock for those who choose the needs of all, not just their own. The message ended, echoing like a challenge. Keiran let out a stunned laugh. So it's true. You're part of the old line. Miko's voice was brittle. But I never knew. This is bigger than us, Keiran. If we take the core to the authorities, they'll control it. Maybe abuse it. If we leave it, things stay the same. He looked at her, quietly impressed. So what do we do? Miko's answer was quiet but strong. We finish this mission, we find the core, and then we decide. With that, they pushed deeper, unaware that the old AI security lingering in the shadows was quietly awakening. A faint hum thrummed through the corridor. Miko and Keiran edged deeper, flashlights glinting off frost-laced steel. The walls grew stranger, a wild tangle of organic cabling and thin, pulsating lights. Whatever powered the EK Delta vault was awake now. This doesn't feel like an ordinary server farm, Keiran muttered, voice barely audible. Miko shook her head. No, this is something alive, or it wants us to think so. As they reached the core chamber entrance, a pair of sealed blast doors blocked the way. A glowing interface blinked to life. A shielded AI Guardian program, its shape ghostly, almost human, projected just beyond the glass. It spoke, and the voice was both gentle and merciless. State your intent. The future is balanced on your answer. Miko swallowed, heart pounding. We seek the Eden Core. Humanity can't survive up there for much longer. We want to restore the Earth and set things right. The projection tilted its head. Restoration requires sacrifice. Prove that you are not driven by selfishness, or the core will remain sealed. Miko and Keiran traded worried glances. Instinctively, Miko reached for the image of her mother. Those brave eyes replayed in her mind's eye. We're servants, not masters. We risked our lives. I'm willing to give all I have to future generations, even if it means staying behind. There was a long silence before the Guardian replied, You alone would risk this? Keiran stepped forward, jaw set. She's not alone. This isn't just a Tanaka problem. We stand for everyone in the habitats. Our lives, sure, but more than that, our hope. The projection watched them for what felt like an eternity, searching their faces for deceit. Finally, a green halo glowed across the panel. Proceed. The blast doors ground open, pulsing machinery inside spinning up, but as the cold air flooded over them, distant alarms began to howl. Across their wrist pads, a new feed appeared. Unauthorized signal detected. Hostile actors inbound. Miko's eyes met Keiran's. The scavengers must have followed. We're not alone in here anymore. Behind them, shadows writhed as the security AI flared into full sentience, preparing to defend the core, no matter the cost. A cascade of red lights swept through the corridor as the vault's security systems came astir. From their entry route, Miko and Keiran heard bootsteps, multiple signatures, the metallic clangs unmistakable. The scavengers had docked and were advancing fast, their intentions far from friendly. "Grab the toolkit," Miko whispered. She sprinted into the core chamber, the door hissing sharply behind them. Inside, the Eden core glowed in the center, a crystalline sphere surrounded by pulsing rings, its energy humming with solar warmth even in the icy vault. Keiran scanned the sphere in awe. This could restart everything. We could have rain again, trees. From the console, a ghostly prompt appeared. Authorization, Tanaka plus consent of peer. Download key, initiate legacy reset or preservation mode, choose. Footsteps pounded closer. From the doorway, shouts, then the crackling sound of plasma arcs as the scavengers tried to force entry. Above the din, the AI Guardian's voice boomed throughout the chamber. Defensive measures initiated, unauthorized presence detected. The vault itself seemed to come alive, walls shifting, a cold shield descending over the core. Lasers swept out, targeting the corridor as the scavengers ducked and fired back. "They're breaking through," Keiran yelled. "There's no time for debate," Miko shouted. She reached out, fingers brushing the console. "Legacy reset," she declared, thinking of the vault's message. "Restore what was lost. Give Earth a second chance." The sphere's energy burst, illuminating their faces with gold light. The AI Guardian's voice was gentler now. "Final safeguard. One must stay to guide the transference, or the process will fail." Keiran shook his head. "No way. I dragged us here." Miko's eyes filled with tears, her answer immediate despite the pain. "My family built this. I'll finish it. You get out. Tell the habitats the truth." Before he could protest, security barriers blocked the chamber, sealing Miko inside and cutting off Keiran from her side. Scavenger shouts faded behind AI firewalls as the Eden core began to pulse, codes encoding themselves in Miko's DNA. She pressed her palm to the console, whispering through the glass, "Don't let them forget. We can begin again." The core's power surged, and a beam shot up through the vault to the freezing stars, calling out to every orbiting soul. Earth's hope was being rewritten at any cost. Miko's world narrowed to blinding light and the rhythmic pulse of the Eden core as ancient code flowed over her skin. Pain lanced through her arms and spine. She gritted her teeth to keep from screaming, afraid distraction would break the sequence. All around her, the chamber thrummed with power that felt older than every orbital city combined. Outside, Keiran hammered on the barrier, voice hoarse. "Can you hear me? Hang on! Just hang on!" On the consoles, data windows bloomed, showing glimpses of Earth's surface, still racked by storms but beginning to calm in places, a feedback loop rippling through the rogue AI weather networks. Far above in the habitats, lights flickered as wild digital storms tamed themselves one by one. In the chaos outside the vault, security drones battled the last of the scavengers. Keiran ducked behind a collapsed console, clutching a data module. He broadcast a warning out into open channels. "This is Keiran Race of Habitat 5. The Eden core is real. We've triggered the reset protocol. The Earth can be healed, but the vault must be protected at all costs." His message was answered with static, then a cascade of desperate voices from other habitats, the news spreading like wildfire. For the first time in a generation, hope replaced the old dread. Even the corporate enforcers fell silent. Inside the core chamber, the AI Guardian turned its gaze to Miko. Synchronization 78%. Human willpower remaining high. Prepare for memory transfer. Miko felt every lesson and hope of her ancestors downloading into her mind. She saw herself planting trees, leading children along green rivers, teaching lost skills to rebuild. The risk, the sacrifice, it all clarified into a responsibility bigger than her fear. But the transfer's intensity grew. Memories threatened to overwhelm her. If she faltered, the reset would fail and Earth's chance would be lost. Outside, Keiran fought to reroute spare energy to the door, desperate for a last moment with his friend. Come on, Miko. Don't do this alone. You're more than your family's legacy. You're our future too. Miko squeezed her eyes shut, focusing on his voice, letting his determination anchor her. For the first time, the core's sequence stabilized, echoes of both sacrifice and hope in perfect balance. Still, the final stage remained, and Keiran was about to discover that the choice he thought was made might yet depend on both of them, in a way neither could have predicted. As the chamber's energy crescendoed, Kieran's final override triggered a surge that fused his voice with the AI's protocol. "Miko, I'm here. We're stronger together. Don't let it take you alone," he yelled, even as sparks stung his fingers. Miko, fighting through tides of inherited memory and raw power, heard him. The Eden Core's field pulsed, searching, testing, then adapting. The AI Guardian's image flickered between wrath and relief. Dual consent recognized. Human connection amplifies legacy transfer. Synchronization, 100%. For a single infinite moment, Miko and Keiran shared everything. The Tanaka's dreams, the ruined Earth, the memory of lost skies, and an unspoken promise that humanity's future would be written by many, not just a chosen few. The Eden Core relayed the blueprint for restoration out to the habitats, each person suddenly able to read their role in the healing. Engineers, dreamers, children, everyone a node in the new plan. Outside, the surviving scavengers, reeling, some now even helping the habitat defenders, could only stare as the stormed sky above Earth began to flicker with blue patches, clouds rolling into formation under long-lost natural laws. Across the orbital cities, fields of hydroponic crops glowed and oxygen generators steadied. Frightened people gathered at windows and saw, for the first time in 300 years, a thin green haze at the world's edge. Within the vault, the AI Guardian dimmed. Process complete. Guidance required. Legacy remains with its stewards. Miko, dazed and barely standing, realized the barrier to the chamber was gone. Keiran rushed to her, catching her before she could fall. "You did it," he cried, but she shook her head and smiled through exhausted tears. "We did it. The core only works if we lead together." Hand in hand, they stepped out. The vault's message, rewritten by two imperfect but hopeful humans, had reached all who survived above the broken planet. Doors across the system opened for the first time, not just to technology, but to trust, cooperation, and the hard collective work of repair. As the story spread, Miko's name was whispered as a legend, but she refused to lead alone. "No one should ever bear this much hope by themselves," she told Keiran, looking down at the Earth that was slowly healing. Together, humanity began the long return, not as rulers, but as caretakers. Habitats emptied, orbit by orbit, as people returned to restore oceans and forests, dancing in the first rain that fell on soil in centuries. Against impossible odds, the underdogs had done more than survive. They had earned at last a new world worth fighting for.